Toastmasters. I am pleased to present Steve Brown to you today. He's been a Toastmaster for many years in Kentucky, if not other places, as well as our Franklin County Toastmasters Club. Professionally, he comes from a long line of occupations: military, law enforcement, sales, weaponry, you name it. He is a very versatile, well-read fellow, and we are looking forward to his 16 to 20 minute speech. And let us have Steve Brown with Lessons from the Dungeon. Lessons from the Dungeon. Steve Brown.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good afternoon, everyone. Some of this will sound like, and it will be, a refresher course on a speech I gave about a month ago. I gave an overview of one of my new favorite books, recommended to me by Sarah and Aaron Stubbs, and I thank them in my soul very often because now my daughter is reading this set of books, and she has just finished book 5, and that happens to be my favorite one. And it got me thinking that, and reminding me also, that so much we can learn and teach each other through literature and entertainment. I can put quite a few of my life lessons that I have followed from books that I read when I was a young child, even as a teenager, and even into my young adulthood. And with that, when I was going through, again, Dungeon Crawler Carl, written by Matt Dinniman, I was realizing, oh, there's some life lessons here that we can use even in our own everyday life. No, we are not in a alien-controlled, AI working dungeon, but we do have a life that we can use these techniques and these lessons from. And because of that, I want to start at the beginning. The beginning of the book takes place when Carl is woken from sleep about a little after 2 o'clock in the morning, and his cat has jumped out the window, and she has run out and she's screaming and yelling, and she's in a tree, and he's got some issues because his boots are downstairs in the dryer and he can't get to them, so he's just going to throw on a jacket in his boxers. He's going to go save his cat, which reminded me of a lesson that I learned literally decades ago. I read this when I was 17 years old, and it was written by an author I have mentioned before, Robert A. Heinlein. And the character in the book is named Lazarus Long. And in the book, Time Enough for Love, there are different sections in the book that have lessons that this character has learned throughout his hundreds of years of life that he's lived. He is functionally immortal with science fiction. One of those things that stuck with me literally as long as I can remember: have your clothes and weapons close by where you can find them in the dark when you're sleeping. Why? Because when it hits the fan, you don't have time to think, where's my stuff? I gotta get it. Now, obviously, it's the plot armor of a book. If the author wants him to be in a dungeon without shoes, he writes it that this man has 1 pair of boots in his life. I don't know about you, but I have a dozen pair of boots. And 2 of them are right next to my bed and they never leave. Why? Because those boots, along with the pair of pants and the overshirt that I have, along with a few other things, that is my nightly setup. It's right next to my bed. I never touch them except for an emergency. Thankfully, that emergency hasn't happened lately, but back in the day when I was in the military and in law enforcement, it did. There were times I was woken up and I had to be doing what I do. And anybody that's been in the military, Jerry, there are times when you're sleeping in your sack with your boots in there with you. Why? Because you want to make sure they're warm, and at the same time, they're where you can get them. And that scene of Carl running out and putting on some Crocs and wearing boxers to get his cat stuck with me of, dude, you got to be prepared. And that's what I want you to be, is prepared in life, having your stuff ready to go when you need them. And as Carl was going through the dungeon and the things that were happening, the aliens explained, this is what we're doing. You're going to be in the 18 level world dungeon. He went down with his cat, Miss Donut, Princess Donut to be clear, and she wanted to stay warm because it's warm there. Where he was, it was literally 30 degrees below zero. It's freezing. He's literally dying if he didn't go through. He goes down there, he gets in there, he fights off some goblins, he does what he needs to do, he goes into the training guild and he meets a creature called Mordecai. And Mordecai explains to him that you're in the dungeon, this is what's happening, and Carl just can't stop asking questions. Questions are good. I love questions. I want to know the why. But Mordecai made a good point. When things are happening right now, when the bad things are happening, when it's hit the fan and you've got to fix the problem, you can't ask why right then because you have to fix the problem. If bad things are happening and you're sitting there going, well, why is this happening? Or why is this? Why are they acting like, no, you fix the problem, you get through it, and you go through it. Mordecai explained, I and my people are the skyfowl. And we just roll with what happens. We roll with the problem. Then later on, you do an after action report and you figure out why did this happen to begin with. Maybe you can fix it so it never happens again, but when it's happening, you have to help people. You have to help yourself. You have to fix the problem. Don't rely upon getting an answer right then and there. The answers will come. It will be explained. It may not be explained right now, but as you go through life and you go through your day-to-day workings, if a bad emergency happens right then, you're not wondering, who put the nail in the road that my car rolled over and now I've got a flat tire? You don't think of it that way. You think, I got to fix this flat tire because I got to be somewhere. You don't think, oh my goodness, who didn't shut off the gas valve now? You want to shut the gas valve off, you put the fire out, whatever the circumstances are, you fix the problem right then. Then later on at an after action report, you say, all right, here's what happened. Let me explain what happened. Let's fix this. So right then, you fix the problem. Don't sit around and your mind just, I'm stuck. I got to figure out what's going on. No, you've got to work through it, fix the problem, go through it. Later on, Mordecai explains to him, here's how you can fight better with this person against this creature. But right then and there, you got to do it. Whether or not it's a goblin or an acid creeper or some sort of crazy boss battle, you've got to just do what it takes. Then later on, you look, okay, what beat them? What was the problem? Where's the clues that I can work for later? Then you fix those problems as you go along. And I don't want you to sit and be paralyzed. It's called paralysis by analysis. And because of that, people just, I gotta think about it. No, action cures problems. Sometimes your problem is, like I said, goblins. Sometimes it is just the idea of your internal doubt. If you go and you do what needs to be done, it solves problems. Action cures problems. One other thing that happens with Mordecai and in the training guild, Donut eats a special legendary pet biscuit. And Donut goes from a normal little house cat who is nationally ranked grand champion that she will never let you forget about, and she becomes sentient. She becomes much like us, except for the fact she's a cat. She talks, she thinks, she can use magic, she's very strong, and she's actually got higher stats than Carl, and it kind of bothers him at the time. That's important. But she gets a gift, and the dungeon has given her something, and she puts it on her head without even boom, it's purple. She wears a purple tiara. She loves purple. Purple's her color. Unfortunately, it's cursed somewhat. And because of that, I want you to read descriptions. I want you to read the details, because with those details, you can find out the why of the problem that was occurring before. Look farther in than just, oh, it's purple, I'm gonna wear it. So often we as people, as individuals think, I'm gonna do this right now. Okay, have you thought about A, B, and C? Again, I'm not saying to never enjoy yourself, never go out and have fun, never go out and do things. I'm saying sometimes you just need to think, I need to read the description, I need to read the directions. Unfortunately, and I will be kind of sexist when I say this, men have a propensity to not read directions when they put things together. Sometimes it is from their experience in the past. Sometimes it's, oh, it's not that hard. I can put a cat tree together without directions anymore. But the first time I did it, I read the directions. Now I can do it with no problems. With those, they went through and they went out and they fought boss battles, and they attacked, and they got prizes, and they did all kinds of wonderful things. And it's a wonderful story, and people noticed them. And a lady named Odette noticed them. Odette is the biggest interviewer in the galaxy, in the world, or universe for that matter. Need to be clear on that. And Odette has a personal connection with Mordecai. And Mordecai hates her, but she still cares for him. Long, deep backstory that opens up deeper into the books as you go along. But the first time they met, she told Carl something very important. Never trust anyone unless you know their true motivation. So often as we go through our lives, we see things and we say, oh, that person said this. Do you believe them or not? If they are a close family member, a close friend who you've got years and decades spent time with, okay, you've learned, you know, okay, they're trustworthy. Or they're not trustworthy because you already know their motivations are screwed. But how often as we go through life do we forget, I need to second guess more often? That's when you do an after action report on your life and go, were they trustworthy? Should I have put my time and energy into them? Should I have believed them? Did they prove what they were doing? How far do we take this to being blindly believing in what everybody says? One of the messages that I have used for literally decades, and it is literally a case of question everything. I taught my kids, if somebody says something, question it. Find out why they want that. Find out the end result to what they're pushing. And sometimes you've got to wonder, are they the originator of the thought, or are they the originator, or they are just spreading something else? Always question everything. Question everything, even me. As I tell you this, I want you to question me. That's how far I want you to take it. Then, of course, there is the message that as you fight in the dungeon, and as you follow the path, and you get deeper, and you improve yourself, you grow, you expand, you get different skills, you get different weapons, you get all the things that Carl and Donut are going through. And Carl's a softie. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a very good way. He wants to help everyone. I mentioned the cursed tiara that Donut wears. It's cursed in the sense that it gives you wonderful bonuses, it gives you wonderful stats. It's actually very good for her, except for one clause. It puts you in the royal lineage of the Blood Sultanate on the 9th floor. Obviously, if you're on the 1st floor, you don't even think about 9th floor. You're thinking, I'm gonna die right now, and who knows what's gonna happen. But this stipulation of this tiara is something that Carl has to worry about. But Mordecai explains to him, kid, you can't save them all, and that crown's on her head, not yours. You can leave that party at any point and let them go. And how often have we as individuals tried to help somebody that does not want our help? How often have we pushed? You can do better, you can do this. If they don't want to, you can't save them. There are certain things in life that as individuals, you cannot make other individuals do. You can't do it, it's not gonna happen. And Mordecai explains to him, you can do what you can for people, but you can't save them all. There's no way. Back in the day when I was in law enforcement, I would have tinges of guilt, for lack of a better word, of me thinking I let people down because they screwed up. It was because I thought, hey, I'm here to help. I didn't treat myself as an instrument of the courts as much as look, I'm here to fix a problem that's occurring right now between people. Sometimes those are individuals that they are on a course that you cannot help. There's nothing you can do about it. There's every advice in the world you can give them. You cannot save them. And thankfully, I grew up a little bit and realized, okay, they're on their own path. They're living their own thing. I can't help everybody. And at the same time, I realized that if you push and push and push to help somebody that doesn't want it, you're giving off more than what you should, because I still have kids, I still have my family, I still have my wife, I still have them to think about. And am I deluding myself by trying to push these other people over a finish line that they have no clue they even care about? I have an old friend of mine who unfortunately recently passed away. Not my brother, to be clear, it was not him. But they were part of the same circle. That's how old this group was. And he passed away. And he was on a path that I could not help with. That being said, I still tried to help him, and some would say that he bilked me out of money also. I don't think so. I helped him where I could and tried to give him advice when he asked for it. If he followed it, wonderful. If he didn't, that's on him. The old saying is, you can't lead a horse to water, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink. But at the same time, you put out the information. And I'm putting out information here. Hopefully you might pick up something. You might think, oh, that's a pretty good one. Oh, that other one's bad. I don't care about that. No, I'm going to help everybody and I'm going to dilute myself all day long. Whatever you see as you as the individual, that's what matters. And this is just the beginning of finding out what we can share with each other using entertainment and using books and literature and movies and trying to pass on a message. Maybe that message is having your clothes and weapons where you can find them in the dark. Maybe it is reading the directions. Maybe it is improving yourself more and more so you can help other people more and more. That's up to you to decide. I'm not going to force you, obviously. You're a bunch of individuals. You decide for yourself. But there will be more Dungeon Crawler Carl speeches, and hopefully they will not bore you and we will have a good time talking about it. Madam Toastmaster.